And we're back once again only on its Last Call. Last Call the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube channel. Well, he was off last week. There was, folks, I'll tell you why. He was in negotiation to be the bodyguard for Sidney Sweeney. Unfortunately, the insurance premiums would not allow him to because, as he said, if a fat, ugly person comes near her, I will slap them. So he lost the gig, but he's back with us. I give you once again the man, the myth, the legend, the man with the largest now official 27-inch pythons in the world. I give you it's Kevin Apollo. So, Kevin, let's start off here with we're going to lead off some tough news. And it's the death of Hulk Hogan. Happened last week, and it was very tragic. And I'm trying to put this in words because he's the closest thing in some ways to Muhammad Ali we could ever see in our generation. Like, everybody knew him. You could go anywhere in the world and go, Hulk Hogan. Oh, I know that guy.
Yep.
How do you, if you try to explain to somebody how big Hogan was, how tough is it when it's like, you can't do justice?
No, it's true though. It's tough. The Hogan was the perfect guy at the perfect time with the perfect level of energy and intensity and charisma. He doesn't. I don't think he gets his due as a giant. The guy was 6'6" in his boots that would have put him, probably closer to 6'8". Like he would have like maybe 6'7.5". Like that, the guy was a giant. And to be that athletic. And I know people try to diminish, what he was able to do in the ring, but I said it, on Marv show. One, I don't think anybody has better worked punches, than Hulk Hogan. I don't care that he grabbed the head. It was awesome, when he would do it. The um the guy was such a prolific worker that, I think I said this to Travis Heckle. I was like, people pay for predictability when it comes to wrestling. So that's why the great of the greats, they have 3 to 5 moves of doom, right? Hogan only had 2, 3 if you include the point. But that's how good of an emotional storyteller he was. There is no one has done it better. No one's done it better, and he could work with anybody. And to his credit, I know people claim it's to his detriment, but to his credit, he was very protective of himself. So if he didn't think you could draw money, he wasn't going to waste time with you. If Hulk Hogan didn't work with you, you were the problem. That guy would do business with anybody. The and he he was so important. If you think about where we were. You're coming out of the 70s. It was a very volatile time. Lots of political violence. You're trying to heal from the ugliest parts of the civil rights movement. You lost 2 Kennedys, King, everybody that was important at the time, and then you're dusting off from the Vietnam War. Plus, you got Watergate, and then you close it out with the fall of Iran. Self-esteem in this country was non-existent, and then this guy appears, and essentially he's a star-spangled colossus, and then he switches over to red and yellow because they just stand out, and he's unabashedly proud to be an American. It says, it talks about being an American is part of his core values, and he told you in this larger than life fashion, to be proud because you had everything to be proud of. And when you break it down, Hulkamania, Hogan was as vital to the fall of communism in the USSR as McDonald's was, as MTV was, as Levi's were. The the strength of his personality, of his aura, he became the embodiment of Americana. And so you go from the 80s, and then he does it again in the 90s, as Hollywood. and it gets another resurgence, with the Hulkamania still rules. Then you go into the Hogan knows best era. The American Gladiators, the dropping the leg on Gawker, the you know the it's but I don't really think talking about it really does it justice. It was the equivalent of being alive for the Babe Ruth era, for Michael Jordan at the height of his powers, for seeing Mike Tyson slaughter everybody for the first time, seeing Muhammad Ali for the first time, seeing Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, in their primes. It was a once in a lifetime thing that if you were there for it while it was happening, you were lucky. Everything else is just everything else is just a tale that can't live up to the reality of what was going on. This is and then when you look at it like before his death, we at least had one person alive in the first 10 main events of WrestleMania. And now it's down to, if you count Mr. T4, but now it's down to DiBiase, Brett, and um brain farting. Um
Hillbilly Jim, maybe. I mean, it's
oh
getting.
yeah, but so it's like, it's so he, again, we lost the Hulk, and essentially, although it's here, but 12% of wrestling's history died with one man. How insane is that? And that doesn't even really factor in his time in WCW. The it's sad, and for the people who are trying to drop hate and all that other bullshit, I say stop it, because at the end of the day, the reality of it is that he was in a very dark place in his life. He was suffering from the throes of addiction. He was contemplating. This guy was actively contemplating killing himself after his wife left him for a child. His family had fallen apart. And he was with someone he trusted who took advantage of him for profit. And when you're in the privacy of your own home, listen. I may be crappy to say, but you should be able to say whatever the hell it is you want, and not have to, and not expect to be dragged through the mud. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, especially the ones who are the loudest, with trying to tarnish his name. Where if I took a tape recorder and followed them around, I'm sure there's something that they have said in their life that they don't want haunting them for the rest of theirs. This is why we forgive. The man went out of his way to make amends privately, not publicly, but privately. Privately, this is a man who saved a life. What? Not even 2 years ago. This is a guy who, because I have friends in Tampa and Clearwater, who said that anytime he saw the man, especially if there was a child, he stopped and took every picture, shook every hand, and had a minimum of 3-minute conversation with anybody who wanted his time of day. This guy worked his ass off up until that final neck surgery. I'm sorry, you don't get to tarnish this person's legacy because of a mistake. Because he was in a bad place. Anybody who has known him, who has suffered from addiction, you know, um, they are not the person that you know. And the struggles with sobriety, it's an everyday fight. It's an everyday fight that a lot of people don't understand and don't put enough respect on. And again, this is a guy who worked so hard to change his life that he won and got baptized, just what, 18 months ago. So I say cut the bullshit, lay off. You're not perfect. I bet you're a super piece of shit if I had enough money to hire a PI to prove it. And you're not better than anybody. You are just as shitty as everybody else. So stop dragging a man through the mud who has clearly done more good for people, for this freaking country, than half these people could ever want to pretend to.
Jimmy Hart talked about how during the January 1st Raw this year, when Hogan came out and he got booed, it broke his heart. And I am not a perfect man. I am as flawed as they come. I will admit that. I find it ironic, though, that people have forgiven Mike Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin. These two men beat the shit out of women. I mean, Mike Tyson once said the best right hand I ever threw was against Robin Givens. Austin, until his last wife, every wife he's had has been domestic assault, and they cleaned that up. And don't even get me started on the rap industry, the music industry. Why is
Mhm.
it that they've gotten a pass? And yet with Hogan, okay, yes, he said something in private, didn't hurt anybody, didn't get arrested, wasn't on drugs, wasn't, in DUIs like Jeff Hardy. And yet it was, as soon as he said that, it was almost like people went, "You are canceled for life. You are horrible. You are the worst goddamn thing since Adolf Hitler."
I think some of it was, he didn't do the walk of shame and do the apology tour and kiss Al Sharpton's ass and all that other bullshit. The other part of it is, hey, guess what? He went and stumped for the Orange Man. And, although in his heart of hearts, California is red, their stupid jungle primaries will never not have it be a blue shithole. So you go to LA and you're in the center of the retard hive mind, and they booed him. And they booed him mostly because a couple of smart mark dweebs decided to boo, and the drones just followed suit. If the WWE had not pussied out and put the man in a Saturday night's main event, put the man in the garden when like they should have. Had the man come out when they were down south like they should have. His reaction and reception would have been very different. It's so, shame on Triple H for being a fucking coward about it and not giving this man at least a couple of final appearances. Because the LA Smart Marks and Soy Boy Army decided to hijack a segment for a couple of minutes.
People talk about the politics that he was. Hey, Hulk Hogan's a politician. Hey, Hulk Hogan has buried people here.
Hmm.
When we look at this, how much is that almost common vote? I mean, as somebody said, unless you're Cody Rhodes might be one of the few who's never done that, but most people, whether it's Rock, Ric Flair, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, that's what you did. You get power, and all of a sudden you find yourself corrupted. Was Hogan basically held by us to a higher standard, and we just should have realized, like, hey, this is what the
No, I
business
mean,
does to people?
think about it. It's the perspective of the people who did the shoot interviews, right? We were alive for the dawn of the RF tape, and Twitter, where anybody with a grievance, but not an ounce of self-reflection, had the ability to say whatever the hell it is they wanted to say. I mean, it's probably gonna be a controversial take, but at the end of the day, defy you to meet a successful person who, at some point in time, did not have to strong arm or scumbag someone in some kind of way. Whether you wanted to or not, you had to be a dick at some point in time. The nice guys finish last for a reason. It's because you get walked over. Hulk Hogan was a very protective of his character. And listen, we've heard the stories of the paranoia, and you're right. When you get on top and you're making the most money, but at the end of the day, you're also responsible for generating the most money, generating the most revenue. You do what you have to do to stay the man. You just do. And you're not going to lower yourself. You're not going to debase yourself. You're not going to demean yourself to working with just anybody. And you're also too going to want to be in there with people that you trust and people that you like, because deep down, once you do this for a while, you know who you can make magic with, and you know who's going to be wasting your fucking time. The And there's also, listen, there's also a sense of competition, right? There's always someone younger, faster, stronger, a little more clever, who's coming for you. So, as the older lion, you're gonna fight to hold on to your spot, and guess what? It's up to someone else it's up to the a younger lion to finally take you down. That is, that's law of the jungle. So I don't begrudge the Hulkster for doing what anybody else would have done, in his position. And I don't believe for 2 seconds that Cody's a guy who has not done this yet. Cody has fucked someone along the way. It's just no one's complained about it yet. Cody had to strong arm his way through something at some point in time. No one's just complained about it yet. And I'll be brutally honest. I had friends who were there for the opening days of AEW, and they told us straight up, "Hey, the elite, these guys all fucking hate each other." So so while they're all there trying to vie for TV time and do all this other bullshit, and it's all love and laughs, and it's just bull crap. It's bullshit. There was a fight, there was a feud for power. That's just life. You have to fight for what you want. The Sometimes you may go against your best instincts, or you may not go about it the best way. But again, that is life. And I tweeted it out. Humans are simple in the sense that we are complex creatures, right? The we all do it. We At some point in time, we will do something where we will act impertinently, we'll act selfishly. We may do something that goes against our ethics, our code, our values. Because it's just we are flawed creatures, which is why there's only one entity that is allowed to judge. But when you hit hero status, you transcend those flaws. You transcend those flaws because that means that you've done something so spectacular that it has inspired other people to endeavor to do better for themselves and for those around them. This guy was a bona fide hero to a great many of people for again for obvious reasons. He came along as a larger than life figure and told you, "Hey, say your prayers. Say your prayers. Train hard and eat your vitamins." Essentially, it was his truth, justice, and the American way, right? He told you it's okay to be you. So it doesn't get any bigger or better than that. The Again, I don't know. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It was up to someone else to become more popular. And look at the people that he made along the way. Lex Luger was a star, but Hollywood Hogan turned Lex Luger into a mega star. He pulled him over the edge. Same thing with Sting. Sting was a star, but Sting was, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan in the NWO, Sting, Sting ascended and afforded himself a second half career that people that people would kill for. He Look at what he did for Goldberg. Hogan saw dollar signs in Goldberg and got him hooked up with the right representation and coached him on how to become a star. And then he puts him over on live TV, right? On live TV. When I think the scuttlebutt back then was there were rumors that WCW was looking to do a show in Yankee Stadium. So it's like and instead they took what should have been a major main event and they gave it away free because it was time to do something for the company. The When you go back to Savage, right? It's time for Hogan. It's a Savage where it's time for Hogan now to be the 1B and not the 1A. And so people who don't understand what's going on complain about how Hogan stayed in the ring. During when Savage gets the belt handed him, same thing with Warrior, but they don't understand. Visually, Hogan had to be there because he had to symbolically pass a torch to these guys. He had to endorse their status as the man. That's why he's there. It's not a glory hog thing. It's a certifying thing. The He didn't have to do that. He can like, "Hey, cool. I'm gonna kick out a 3.5 rollout, and it's all yours." The he Also look at what he did in TNA. Think about what he did in TNA. People bitch about his TNA run, but he helped Abyss and AJ find other aspects of their character that just did not exist. Look what he did for Bully. He took Bubba and turned him into Bully, and turned him into a main eventer. A card carrying main eventer. He didn't have to. He could have been a prick about it. But nope. I think one of the more telling ones is Bully tells a story about how it was during the Brooke phase of the storyline where he's with Brooke, and I think it's like right after he turns on everybody. And I think we talked about it during the was it maybe the Megan Bain and Thunder Rosa disaster, about what you're supposed to do when a baby face hits the ring. The So Bully and Bubba wind up in a stare in a standoff, and they're staring at each other. And it was like one of those, just before the camera cuts to black, and Bully goes to back down because as a heel, if the baby face is up and standing, your job is to get away. And as Bully goes to retreat, Hogan tells him, "No, brother, you stay. You stay and you get in my face and you bow up." And Bully was baffled. And then Hogan explained, "Nope." They get backstage, and Bully says, Hogan explained to him, "No, I'm here for you. This is your time. You're the guy now. So you don't run away from me." The Because, like, if the guy was that big, look at what he did for Harlem Heat. Harlem Heat, Booker and Stevie Ray could not get on TV. They were jobbing half the time. Hogan shows up and goes, Why aren't these guys on TV? Why aren't they your champions? What are we doing here? Why are we leaving money on the table when you got guys that look like this? If he was that big a piece of shit, he wouldn't have done the things that he did for people. It just had to be, you had to earn the ability for him to want to do something for you. And I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. Life sucks, but you know what? You fight and you earn your spot. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it's not his fault that certain people just were not successful, or were not as successful as they could have been.
So what is his legacy then? Because it's getting I mean, this the last couple of days we've seen, you know, just so much has come out. If you're nice to them, they try to cancel you. As Chelsea Green found out the hard way, as Joey Swole found out the hard way.
Ah, please.
His daughters come out and said she could never forgive him for this, and it's almost like that his legacy is always going to be tainted because of just we can't get over stuff. I mean, how sad is that when you look and go, and business wise, twice he saved pro wrestling in the '80s and even in the '90s. Without him,
Yep.
wrestling ain't doing too well.
No, exactly. I say this all the time. Meltzer, the effing retard that he is, likes to pretend, well, nothing was bigger than the golden age. Well, the golden age, you're not telling the whole story. TV was brand spanking new. There's nothing on it. So wrestling being on TV was a boon to TV, but of course it was massive. No one had any options. And look at what happened as soon as people had options. Wrestling fell off. Fine, it was big. It was big in its territory eras, but in terms of like a national entity, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing until Hulkamania happens, and then because the rising tide lifts all ships. A Hulkamania happens, and if you were business savvy, you were able to see what was happening, and you made the adjustments. But that's why the Crockett's were able to survive. Unfortunately, everybody else fell down. The Gagnes and the Von Erichs fell down because they refused to adjust with the times. But Hogan was instrumental into taking wrestling from being this little silly thing that popped up on TV, and turning into a viable, I guess, sports entertainment juggernaut. He was the first crossover star. Again, fine, yes, he went to Hollywood, and fine, it wasn't as spectacular of a career, but when you think about the options that were around back then, no one was really going to take a super chance on that unless you did something radically different with him, and his schedule didn't really allow it because he was working more than these guys are now. So now, at least now, you have the ability to go out and pursue better movies that are going to require more time, That wasn't on that wasn't in the cards for him. His and then you look at Chelsea. Well, Chelsea Green spends all day catering and pandering to woke weirdos. So the second you do something that deviates from the dogma of woke lunacy, they turn on you and they treat you like shit because you're dealing with a group of people who are miserable at their core. They stand for nothing. They believe in nothing, other than what some stupid socialist programs into their little pea brains. And the second you do something that shatters the reality, they attack you. So she got what she deserved. I've said this many times. I do not pity the arson who gets burned in their own fire. She did it to herself. Good for fucking you. Joey Swole, boy, am I disappointed. That's the guy who didn't understand his audience. Brother, the left hates you because you're muscular, you're male, and you happen to be white. So your fandom are folks in the middle and folks who lean right. You got your ass chewed out because a bunch of weirdos who really don't even know the situation, don't even know the story, decided they wanted to boo someone for saying a nasty word, even though half the people they vote for come from a party that fought to make sure slavery existed, did everything in its power to make sure the civil rights movement didn't happen, destroyed generations of culture via the welfare state, and then made sure that we injected this toxic poison of wokeness and identity politics back into a society that was enjoying a good 12-year run of essentially being colorblind. The So they don't know what they're talking about. Their opinions don't mean shit. But you decided to bend the knee, kiss their ass, and then when you weren't getting the result you wanted, you decided to grovel harder. So your fans, your actual fans, called you out for being a pussy and yelled at you for trying to cater to the woke mob. Oh, I'm so sad. I know you could. I didn't know I can't be on social media anymore. Brother, you did not learn the lesson you needed to learn. The lesson here is don't cater to woke weirdos. If you can't be your authentic self, that's not a group of people you want to be around anyway. You got two people who got exactly what they deserve. Listen, a father daughter relationships are complicated. I'm sure she feels a certain kind of way for him being a stage dad. But at the same time, the guy broke his back trying to make her famous. Not his fault. She didn't have what it took to crack through. The is the it just is what it is. She will mourn her father in her own way, in her own time. I mean, that's not for us to discuss. That's something for her. But the reality of it is at the end of the day, this guy got a shout out from the White House. Florida gave him, which is today. Madison Square Garden stopped what it was doing to pay tribute. There's a massive Hogan store in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, right now. The the if you His legacy is fine. His legacy is intact. Because fans understand what we have lost, and normal people understand what he meant. So the couple of detractors, there's always going to be some blue-haired septum ring, bison backed vaginic having twat who's going to try to poo-poo everybody's parade. We ignore those people because they don't matter. So you let them go be in the corner by themselves where they're happiest, and trust me, their happiest is really just some form of passive aggressive misery. We don't deal with them. We like sanity, we like normalcy, and normal people understand when someone has made an impact.
Well, speaking of catering, that's right. WWE was Unreal is now catering to all those people who want to know everything. You thought, when you watched NFL films, Hard Knocks, or when you watched, HBO's 24/7, you went, why can't wrestling do that? Well, Netflix went, we understand. So here it is. You are a wrestler. You protect the business because you still prefer it. Okay, nobody should know everything. You have a secret sauce. So as a wrestler, what do you think of it? Is this too much? Are we making too much of kayfabe, or is there a part of you that's like, I don't want to know everything because God damn it, the fans shouldn't know like this whole thing. You're not part of it. This is still our thing. We're letting you watch it.
I mean, I'm of two minds of it, right? The fact that people who aren't wrestlers know what the term kayfabe means that kayfabe is dead. The so like it's this isn't a Schrodinger's cat situation. Like you know what the word is, so that means the word doesn't have any power. It's essentially the Rumpelstiltskin effect. The other half of that is they've been doing this since before Total Divas. So you got if you watch Total Divas, you saw how the sausage got made anytime they were in the arena. The you had Mark Carrano walking up and telling them what their storyline was going to be. So the WWE has always filmed everything. I'll give Vince McMahon this. He had the genius foresight to understand that content creation was eventually at some point in time going to be king. So like so the only place there isn't a camera is in the restroom. There are just cameras everywhere, filming and photographing every angle, every second of a talent's day when they're backstage. And it's just all hoarded. It's all hoarded for whatever they need to do, whatever it is they're going to do. The This is just another facet of that. If people think that this isn't a work, they're out of their minds. You're only seeing what they want to allow you to see, slash, they are in the back end training training future writers, training future producers on how they need to think, act, and behave. This is kabuki theater. You're not seeing anything that the average smart mark doesn't know, that doesn't get leaked out into the internet by someone. It's not nearly as offensive as people are wanting to crow on about because and I say it because people want to have something to bitch about because the WWE isn't allowed to be successful with anything that they do. The do I prefer to live in a world where no one knows absolutely anything about wrestling because part of the fun is the mystique and the illusion? Absolutely. That's how it works best. No one should know anything about terms like worked punches and pops and heel and baby face and that it's predetermined. You shouldn't have to but we do. That's where we are. So kudos to the WWE for finding yet another way to generate revenue off of something that they were already doing and have already done. Listen, between Tough Enough already told you the shit was fake. Tough Enough shows you how to do certain things. Total Divas gave you a peek, a really thorough peek behind what happens backstage, but it's all peppered through, and it's all worked to an extent. You're getting to see the phone calls they want you to see. You're getting to see the meetings they want you to see, and chances are half of that meeting isn't even legit. My trainer got a phone call from Knobs when they were filming the pilot for Hogan Knows Best, and spent like 15 minutes talking about how half the shit they were doing was suggested by the producers. The And that he was like, even reality TV is a work. So anybody thinking that this is 100% a shoot, guys, take a breath, take a
Oh,
breath.
it's as I said, it's a lot like NFL films Hard Knocks. You're seeing what they want you to see. There's other stuff. Obviously, they have final edit. They have final say. They'll let you know, hey, no, we're cutting this out. We're cutting that out. No, the owner, having some drinks and getting, schnozzed off his face, a la Jerry Jones. We're not showing that, but everything else you can show. So how long is this show going to do well for though? Because after a while, it's like there's only so much you can do.
Mm. Well,
And as I said, it's not football where it's football everybody cares about, everybody knows, and you're even with the quarterback at Netflix, you got more sort of genuine because Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins likes to get his wife shops for his clothes. How much are we going to see that with WWE? Because it's still like Cody Rhodes is not Cody Rhodes. He's Cody Runnels. Bianca Belair is not Bianca Belair. She's Bianca Crawford. Like, how much are we going to see that they're real, and how much is it still like they're still in character because they don't want to give too much out.
Yeah, well, it's and that's listen, that's how you have to do it, right? I think I guess I'll look at it like this. People, when you look at wrestlers, the best way to kind of look at a wrestler is to look at a musician, right? Um, the stage name is actually your name, and the only time you're not performing is when you are in your home with your family and your friends, right? Or your like, because listen, you're even kind of on when you have to report to your home office and talk to a promoter or some VP. The only time you're not on is when you're in the privacy of your own home with your family and your friends. And maybe if you go to a good gym, but it also depends on how long you've been in that gym, right? So they're always on. You're never really truly you, unless something effing really terrible or something really super special happens. The so it just depends on how available they want to choose to be, right? Like, listen, at the NFL, like you look at Hard Knocks and all that stuff. A lot of that also came from the birth of of the fantasy fan, where there's just this desire for more and more and more and more data that that you just it's it you gave people who wouldn't normally give a shit about football an entry point, which then in turn means that you had to make it more accessible. And if you want to make it more accessible, then you've got to give women something to chew on. So now you give them something that has personalities and a little bit of drama, right? And if you want kids to kind of like it, you need that dad to go, hey, listen, this is what hard work looks like, blah 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 blah. It's the same kind of mentality. Listen, do I think this show is going to be on for 10 freaking years? Probably not. It's Netflix. Nothing ever lasts too long on Netflix anyway. But I can see them trying to, I can see them. They have a 3-year plan anyway. So I see this going for 3 seasons and culminating around whatever some super mega main event's going to be, and then putting it all away, and then moving on. It just kind of depends. It just kind of depends. But again, they're about content creation. They're about content creation. The it's again the fact that we know that the gorilla position exists, the fact that we see it as often as we see it, the fact that we know that there's someone producing. uh, there's so much knowledge and information floating about how they do things that at this stage in the game it's foolish of them not to try to capitalize on the fact that all this information floats around out there. At least now you can contextualize it. And again, in the end, they also realize, hey, at least one of the added benefits of this will be we're gonna we're training Hollywood writers, we're training future writers, we're training future TV production students and producers how to look at our product, how to manage our product, and how to present our product. So this is a business decision.
Before we move on from this, who have you been impressed with so far in the show? Like, give me somebody that when you've watched a couple episodes, like give me a wrestler or a person that you went, maybe it's real, maybe it's fake, but man, I really like them a lot more after I watched this and I saw more about them.
I only got through most of the first episode. I haven't even finished it. I really haven't had time yet. So ask me next week.
All right, so let's focus on this week. It's SummerSlam, 2 nights, August 2nd, August 3rd. I'll say this might be one of the best PLE cards they've had in a long time because I have no idea who's going to win a lot of them. You could go either way. Give me your take right now. How good is this card, and how much is this almost like an improvement over WrestleMania?
Yeah, it is a very strong card. It is a very strong card, and they have a couple of matches that could be the main event. That could be the main event of either night one or night two, but could also be matches that you use to kick the show off. So you know there's you can never have too much talent, and you can never have too many options, right? They're in a really good spot, and you're gonna have people who are, once it's all said and done, you're gonna have people who are gonna be coming off of injuries, and you're gonna be able to turn certain stories on on their ear. They're in a really good position, and yeah, I really felt like going into WrestleMania last year, it took them way too long. It, it took them way too long to actually hit the road to WrestleMania running. It just seemed like it just seemed very discombobulated. Like they kind of knew where they wanted to go, but it just they just really struggled with it this year. The I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the bloodline storyline was essentially over, and they did, it didn't end the way a lot of people thought it was going to end. It just, the everything was building to Rock Roman, and we didn't get it. And then you had to pivot and get whatever the storyline was, and clearly the Rock and Triple H were on different planets and trying to outmaneuver each other. And you got the end result of this is what it looks like when Vince McMahon isn't in charge, and it's not a singular vision driving the show. The this things feel a little bit more coordinated, a little bit more. We got to make this up. I don't know how this show is selling. Um, I'd be fascinated to see how it does. I'm sure they'll pack it out. Especially when you roll into night two, and anybody who feels left out decides to jump in. I hate that SummerSlam is so early. To me, SummerSlam should be a closing out the summer event. But again, it's a good card, man. It's a good card. The matches all feel like WrestleMania matches. The only thing I'm not really super into seeing at the moment is Cena Cody. I really think that this match is too early. I really think this match is too early and should be happening a little bit later. I think John Cena should have gotten a little more time under his belt. Slash, if Cody loses, where do you go? Where do you go with Cody?
Well, let's start with night one. I'll go over the match, and then we'll talk about the ones I'm interested in the most. You get Sami Zayn versus Karrion Cross. If Cross wins, Zayn has to say the words "Cross was right." If Zayn wins, Cross must say I was wrong about Sami Zayn. You got the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez versus Roxanne Perez versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Gunther versus CM Punk. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul in a tag team match. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, and Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Let's go first. What I think the biggest sort of question mark, I have no idea, is Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. Sorry, Jade Cargill. Tiffany's not working as a baby face. Fans cheering her because she's hot. That's what she is. She is TNA and she's good in the ring, but she can't play a baby face, save her life. She is just perfect as a bitchy little, rich princess. Jade
Yes.
Cargill has the look, but really is still. She's even admitted it's been a hard slog going from AEW's work rate to AEW. So what do they do here? Because they sort of painted both in a corner. It's like, well, do you finally have Tiffany drop and then fully turn her heel? Do you give it on to Jade, or do you need Jade to have more time?
Um, I don't think they have a bad outcome here. I know I think some people are overthinking it a little bit. Listen, Tiffany is still very new. She's got a lot to learn. Um, I, I I think Tiffany needs to spend more time learning how to be more like Charlotte than she does on doing these high risk maneuvers. She's got a lot of potential. She's younger and stronger than Charlotte was when she first got in, but it's similar backgrounds, so there's a lot that she can do. But she needs to learn how to cut. She needs a little bit more range in her promo ability. The But she also needs to be put in different situations too. So that's not necessarily her fault. They haven't really put her in positions to really expand or grow, as a performer. So the fact that she's kind of in this weird little space where they cheer her, but she's still kind of being a little bit bitchy, but is also still kind of babyface. Those are dangerous waters even for a seasoned person to have to navigate. But it's good for her because at some point in time, or I should say, the best athletes, the best performers, anybody at the top of their field, understands how to be comfortable when things are uncomfortable. So that's why I think this is good for Tiffany. Same thing goes for Jade though, and for Jade, this is she has put in a lot of work into silencing her critics, but has also exposed a lot of the deficiencies with being an AEW talent. If Jade had started out in NXT, she'd be a radically different performer now. But I kind of look at Jade like Goldberg, right? Like we know Goldberg didn't really have this big love for wrestling. He liked it enough, but he wasn't playing football anymore. He needed something that was going to give him that was going to get him big money. And he did it for the money. Jade probably likes wrestling enough that she wanted to give it a shot. She's a super athlete, but she has loftier goals. But now I think that she's learning how to love the wrestling part of it, which is why you're seeing her grow as a performer. Again, there's no bad outcome here. If Tiffany retains, and Jade still looks decent because she won up against the champion and just came up short, but she still has a long way to go, and we're on that journey with her. She'll get more babyface love. If Tiffany loses, okay, great. They put the belt on the new dominant force, but Tiffany also has a lot to do, a lot to learn, and we're gonna have time to see her get there again. She'll have the title. She'll have the title at some point in time again, and this is good for her character because now maybe she gets a little sympathy. That's what I'm saying. There's no bad outcome here. This is one of those they can do whatever they want here, and everybody for the most part should be more or less fine, and the characters will both come out okay for it, no matter what direction they go into.
I'm fascinated by the Jelly Roll tag team match because you look at the celebrities and the ones that have worked, they were pretty damn good athletes. Logan Paul was a high school, wrestler, athletic guy. He's put it in. He looks amazing. Bad Bunny, another guy, pretty athletic, maybe not in sports, but he did a lot of music and dancing. Went full on out. It worked for him. You can even argue Karl Malone looked pretty good when he was in WCW. Once again, athlete. This is a whole different genre. Jelly Roll is not an athlete, and it's not going to be a garbage match like we saw with, Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, where you can get away with it with just shenanigans. This is going to be a pure tag team match. So, how much pressure is there on Drew and Logan to help carry Jelly Roll to, make him look good and not expose the fact that he's, a 40-year-old man who's a rapper, is passionate about wrestling, but he's not what we're used to seeing for celebrities coming in there and looking good.
Yeah, well, first I'll say this is as old school celebrity in a wrestling match as you can get, right? Like it's just like you're going back to Memphis territory days, where like the local celebrity would get in the ring and they're not wrestlers, they don't get it, but you, I'll boil it, I'll make it even simpler than that. Jelly Roll just has to know how to do what Jelly Roll has to do. It's up to the performers to tell the story. The fact that Jelly Roll has done certain things and looked as good as he did doing it tells you that the match is going to be fine. When he put hands on Logan Paul, he had better facials and was throwing better fists and doing better chokes than half the guys than a lot of the guys you see on national TV right now. Anyway, I won't say what company I'm talking about. The
We know. We won't say, but we know.
the so that's half the battle. That's half the battle there. Um, like I remember we had to. when we trained Lennox Lewis. Again, it's uh, if he can master the art of taking the bump, so like the everything you do in wrestling is a flat back bump, a face bump, or a forward roll. Doesn't matter what the move is. It comes out of those three things. If he can at least do a snapmare well slash forward roll, if he can take a flat back bump, there is pretty much there's pretty much very little that he can't do. So I hate to be what was it, unreal about it. But see, but that's just the meat and potatoes of it. I mean, he gets it. He gets it. He likes it. He has a passion for it. So that's another massive part of the battle. On that, he's in there with Logan Paul, who is I think one of the physically most gifted performers since Rob Van Dam. The guy is a freaking phenom, and people sleep on his on his amateur credentials, because to them he's just a goofy kid from Vine who got a YouTube. But the guy's a hell of an athlete. He's just a hell of an athlete. He has a lot of intangibles that you can't teach, and the fact that he's just embraced being this throwback "I want all the heat" heel without having to be unnecessarily vulgar. It's phenomenal. Drew McIntyre, again, Drew's a freaking machine, and Randy Orton is a main eventer 4,000 times over. There's nothing to worry about in this match. This is a just sit back, have fun, let it be what it's going to be situation.
Final match, which I have no idea what's going to happen, is Gunther versus CM Punk. We got this because Seth Rollins got injured. I know there's now conspiracy theories. Oh, he's going to cash it in. He's going to cash it in. I just don't see how, because we've seen him now like with a brace, literally on crutches, limping around, hobbling. So unless this is the best work I've ever seen since, the Oscars, I don't think this is happening. So what do you do with this? Because at one point you want Punk to win because you get this feeling that like last year for him was hell. But he got the feud with Drew, but he was injured for for the most downtime. He talked about Unreal like it was just for him the worst time. He was despondent because he was missing out on months of his career. It just seems like you're yo-yoing the title again. Like, all right, Jey Uso won it, then he dropped it to Gunther. Now he's dropping it to Punk, and we're playing hot potato, which they don't like doing. So, what do you do in this match?
No, I think I said this a couple months ago. You've got two world titles. The stability thing has been very cool. Roman having the mega run was great. Cody going, for as long as he went was great. At some point in time, though, you have to generate excitement. You have to move that belt around a little bit. I don't mean you have to move it around like Attitude Era style, but you got to start moving that belt around. The company has entirely too many main eventers, um, who if you don't give them titles, you're kind of wasting their potential. So I don't mind the movement. I think for a first title run, Jay's wasn't bad. I think they could have done a lot better, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. We know we've seen worse first time outs, but also too, when you look at what's going on with Roman and Jay, um, I think you're starting to see the seeds be planted for for Jay being elevated even higher, and for the final payoff to this iteration of the Bloodline story. Because I do think the final match in the story is going to be Jay versus Roman. It's going to end like how it started. The but with Punk, I do agree. You're kind of stuck at this point. Like you kind of have to put it on him, just because he came back House of Fire, got hurt, but they, God bless me, they found a way to make the TV around him very compelling. Um, the I have a feeling that the big match for Punk, the big WrestleMania match for Punk. I think they were trying to hold that to get to Punk and Cody. Um, but I think, listen, you can put it. Gunther is the perfect modern heel for Triple H era wrestling. He can come out and he can cut an all business promo, be a little smug, be a little arrogant, but he can back it up. But he has to lose. The purpose of a heel is that they lose in the end. So it's okay that he loses. He doesn't get hurt by it. Baby faces are a little different. They're just a little different. When you put them in big match situations, unless the story is that they just for whatever reason can't win this match, they have to win a big one every once in a blue moon. People want to see CM Punk as champion. CM Punk is very healthy right now. At his age, again, I say it all the time, age in modern wrestling is really nothing but a number, but injuries are real and injuries do take a lot of time. So you got to maximize a guy while you know they're healthy because you never know when they're not going to be. So right now there is no downside to putting the belt on Punk. The but I guess it's like it's the go away heat. It's the go away heat issue. The If you keep teasing someone and the heels getting too much heat, eventually go away. I don't want to do this. Go after yourself. I'm not into this. I think they kind of have to give Punk this belt. I just do. I think that's what this belt on them, so that people can walk out of there happy, happy and satisfied. The Because I think listen, again, I don't know how you quite do it without some kind of like weird super storyline twist,
Oh, well, I
but
get ready right now. But the
I'll say
conspiracy
that.
theory is that Seth Rollins is going to cash in, which I know everybody. That's a conspiracy theory. I'm just looking, going. You saw what happened at Saturday Night Main Event. Like it was bad, and unless it was all planned to somehow then throw LA Knight into the freezer and cool him off to the point where he's not even on TV, and then screw up at Pentagon and I don't know, just ruin Saturday Night Main Event. What the hell is this whole angle about? Because
But yeah, I don't. First of all, I don't even get it. You got LA Knight is feuding with two different factions and two different shows, but then the guy vanishes from TV. What? What? The this is kind of that's why I'm so vexed by this era of WWE because they do a lot right, but they also don't at the same time. At least with Vince, like if it hit, it hit. And if it and everything else was kind of in the middle, or it was dog shit. This is all over the place. Sometimes you just don't know how to feel about something that they're doing. But yeah, I mean, listen, whatever. Kudos to them if this is all big work and Rollins cashes in. Wow, kudos to them. They went all out. They went old school. Like we're talking, Dusty convinced a dentist to 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 Novocaine his face so that he looks like the beating that he took caused facial paralysis. I believe he did that in Florida. So good for them. They went hard. Um, However, I'm of the mindset that this Rollins probably did get hurt because shit happens. But again, when you have a situation where you've got this many main eventers, it's plug and go. Remember they have had this situation before, right? When we had Jericho Benoit, Rock Angle, Austin Triple H, I guess to a lesser extent Foley, Guerrero. They just had so many guys who could be main eventers, in the company at the same time. And this is before the acquisition of WCW, that what Triple H tears his quad, and it turns into plug and play. Or Austin can't really wrestle before Triple H tears his quad, so the main event and the Rock is gone. The main event is being carried by Jericho and Benoit. And the show doesn't lose any momentum. That's kind of where they are here. They just have to be smart about what they're doing. I say like depending on where they put the match. This is why I was like to me, I know a lot of people aren't gonna want Jay. I didn't see who. I know they announced the main event, but I didn't see who it was gonna be. I know a lot of people were thinking that Jay and Roman should probably close it out the show. I personally think that that match should open the show and set the tone, but it is Roman. I get it. But I think if you put Punk and Gunther either at the very beginning or at the very end, or really, you really should say it at the very end because you have to leave that kernel of doubt that Rollins may come out. Rollins can come out. The That's it. But again, they have an embarrassment of riches right now, bro. Like, it's they don't have any bad options. They really don't. And it's almost to the point that as long as they don't make a really stupid decision, they can't make a bad decision.
Well, that leads me to night two. We got John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Naomi versus Rhea versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship triple threat. We got Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. We got a six-pack tables, ladders, chairs with Wyatt Six versus Andre Ray Phoenix versus DIY versus Fraxium versus Morrissey Machine Guns versus Street Profits. And we've got the match I'm looking forward to here. Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu in a steel cage match for the U.S. Championship. I said this on the Pro Wrestle Times of Phil Marks. In a separate universe, Solo Sikoa right now is the world champion. He is the most over heel in the company. He got screwed by Jacob Fatu because, and I've teased Duke Loves Wrestling about this because he loves Solo, but Solo is Arn Anderson. Jacob Fatu is Ric Flair. You look at Jacob and just go, I can't take my eyes off him. He is just everything in, the whole bag of chips. He's passionate as promos. He is explosive in the ring. They gotta be careful here because in this world we live in now. There's an easy way where Solo Sikoa just becomes into the Phantom Zone that Damian Priest is in right now because he gets forgotten of a shuffle because unfortunately Jacob Fatu is going places and Solo just seems mid compared to him, which is unfair, but it's reality.
Well, listen, I yes, fine. Jacob is a Ferrari, right? But Solo is still a Series 8 BMW. So, like, a lot of people wanted to sleep on Solo. I don't understand what to do with the bloodline storyline. Blah, 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 what's going on here? And I was like, well, I just want to do channel my inner Jesse Ventura. I told you, I told you. Solo is on the way to becoming the most over organic heel in the company right now. Promos are fire. He is as hateable as you can get. He's still a badass, but also a chicken shit at the same time. You know how hard that is to pull off. The I like the and he gets more heat because he's a badass, but he does chicken shit stuff. And then there's Jacob. Jacob is a phenom. Jacob is a phenom. A lot of charisma. He's a big bruiser, but he does super athletic shit. His promo style is very different. It's again, I don't. This is awesome, man. You're seeing a glimpse into the main event, of the main event in 4 years. You just are, because you can do Breaker solo, you can do Jacob solo. They got a lot of options. You could do solo. Not Jonah. You read like they got a lot of options. They got a lot of phenomenal options with their young talent. So let them go do what they got to do. Let them get this really big match experience. Solo has really come into his own. Has really come into his own as a character. The silent Arn Anderson bruiser type has grown into what people had really hoped Arn Anderson would have grown into when he wasn't with Flair for a couple of years. And again, Jacob is just Jacob. This match should be pretty cool. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a 57 star classic, but it should be really effing cool.
So who should go over them? Because that's the sort of the one where it's like, all right, if it's Solo, then where you go forward from here? Because this almost feels like in some ways it's a blow up, but if Solo wins, do you start adding more people because he'll win because of the numbers? And right now it's still Jacob and Jey Uso, sorry, Jimmy Uso versus four guys. Like what? How would you book this?
Well, again, they don't have any. As long as you don't do something really stupid, you don't have any bad options. Because because eventually both Tongans are going to be back. You've got two new people in the group. You can still kind of do the numbers game story, but it's also playing out very differently because the personalities are all very different. At some point in time, the numbers is going to be a problem, right? They're going to need to get help. You're going to have to see them find a way to reconcile with a baby face that they've had beef with in the past, or you're gonna have to go to get additional help from the family. They've got a lot of options. I can see them keeping the belt on Solo because Jacob doesn't really need the belt. The Jacob's gonna be over and cheered for no matter what happens, and the chase is always better. The chase is always more fun for fans anyway. So the numbers game can stop Jake. They're in a steel cage, right?
Yes.
So you can have someone come up through the floor. You have someone come up through the floor and be problematic for Jacob, and it's okay. Because also too, I would say a loss would probably do Jacob good because he needs a little sympathy. Baby faces always need a little sympathy. So screwing him in the end will only help him out because when he finally takes it off of Solo, and it's a big celebration moment. But I can also see them putting the belt right back on him because sometimes you just need a heel to take something away from a baby face and then get his comeuppance right away. That's what I'm like. Again, there's no real bad outcome here as long as they don't do something really fucking stupid. It's you again. I said earlier, they have so many options. Just don't make a stupid choice, and you can continue the story in any direction. The only person who the only person who has cause to be pissed off right now is L.A. Knight
And Damian Priest, you can argue.
and Damian Priest. But Priest is injured though, isn't he?
No, I guess he might be hurt, but he last time I saw he's feuding now with Aleister
Alice
Black.
Black, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I just saw Priest was hurt, so I thought they were working him back in slowly. The and so 'cause that was my assumption as to why there wasn't a Priest Aleister Black match.
Okay,
The
but there's too much. They're already fitting everybody in there, which is good. Brings me to this tag titles. They've screwed this up so bad with Wyatt Six, and as I said, I keep saying this here. I'm a broken record. I get it. This is a tribute to Bray Wyatt. You miss him. You try to honor the Wyndham Rotunda family because this was for them probably the most devastating thing that could ever happen.
Yep.
You have all this group of people you don't know what to do with, but you still want keeping them there, and you feel bad for Eric Rowan and Bo Dallas because they've within back to back years they've lost their best friend and in
Brother.
both cases brother. It's like I get it, but this doesn't fit. And now you're jumbling all these tag teams. It's just it's lazy booking. TLC, all right, tables,
Yep.
ladders, chairs.
Well, so this is the this is the big difference between Triple H and Vince. Vince, to his credit, understood how to do creepy shit. Understood like Vince would have just told the story very differently. Um, which is why Bray's character changed. He went from really being more Waylon Mercy in NXT to turning into what he turned into under Vince. Triple H does not have that storytelling capability. The Wyatt Six after their initial debut, and everybody gets creeped out, and you jump everybody backstage. There should have been a shift to put them more in alignment with the kind of storytelling that they do on these shows. You're right. This has been a great big old cluster, and the WWE is really the only ones who don't fall.
That's Bray Wyatt probably from the grave going, "Hey, you guys want to talk crap about me and my family? Screw this year. I'm gonna ruin the damn show."
the they're really the only ones to blame for it. But that doesn't mean it's not salvageable. It's just it's time to start changing things up. Good for the Motor City Machine Guns. They make it to SummerSlam. Um, I don't know why we just can't let the Street Profits have a nice reign in peace. At this point, it's just whatever. It's they haven't had a really big car crash tag team match in a very long time. So fine, they found a way to do it on SummerSlam. So whoever walks away with it, good for them. But the tag division, how many times have I bitched about it on the show? The tag divisions, all three of them are just sucking wind right now, and there's no reason for it because you have more than enough people, which means you have more than enough storyline options. They just choose to do the same old boring bullshit. And everybody thought this was a Vince problem. Apparently, this is just a WWE problem. They do not know how to handle tag teams anymore. And it's baffling because when you go back to the early 80s, they had so many tag teams. Back then they really should have had two freaking belts. And there was no shortfall of tag team feuds and storylines. So why are we struggling so badly now? I just don't understand it.
Side note on this for the Street Profits, because this is the one where, and I've had this question with fighters who don't want to fight teammates, and they give me an explanation, but outsiders looking up, this doesn't make sense. They should have broken up Street Profits a while back, and from what I've heard, Montez Ford does not want to leave Angelo Dawkins of the dust. That's what his worry is, that he will hit. They love him. There's a lot of backers in WWE who think Montez Ford could be a star.
Yep.
That Dawkins will be the one who gets left out. You've been in here, so maybe for the casuals here, for the non-hard people who've done this, like they're going, why doesn't Montez just do this? We understand, yeah, hey, it's you buy, you shake hands, you buy steaks and beers, this is business. Just what for you've been in this situation in terms of you understand the camaraderie. So why is it for Montez that he's willing to forfeit personal glory because a guy who's not even blood he views as I can't just leave him behind.
Yeah, I think he's being a little foolish. Dawkins will be fine. Dawkins has enough charisma. He has enough charisma that he'll be fine. The Tez needs to jump on that train while he can, or he's going to get left behind. There's someone needs to be. I don't know what the reasons are, but someone needs to be sitting him down and essentially have that come to Jesus moment. The tag teams, tag teams generally serve a specific kind of purpose. There's only two kinds of tag teams. There's the we don't know what to do with these two guys and we got to use them, so we're going to put them together. Or there's the one guy's on his way out, one guy's on his way up, so we need the guy on his way out to teach the guy on the way up how to be a guy at the top. The those are your two kinds of tag teams. But at the end of the day, unless it's a rarity, like the Dudleys, and even the Dudleys broke up. Tag teams break up. They are meant to break up. No one stays together. Even the Rock and Roll Express broke up at some point in time. So the tag teams break up because that's their purpose. It's an educational thing, or it's a get these guys TV time and face recognition thing. So, to be slave to your to a sense of loyalty or duty is silly. It's silly. It's silly because again, this isn't like and if I'm Dawkins, I'm gonna be a little insulted because again, Dawkins is also a hell of an athlete. He is developing a decent physique. He's got charisma. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Someone always has to get left behind a little bit. You always come back and pick up your brother. I can understand if the discussion was, I do not want to if the discussion was, I do not want to have to feud with this guy. But you don't want to do this the boring, we're gonna break up and feud tag team storyline. I get that, but not breaking up period, so that out of some bizarre sense of sense of fealty. That's just, it's foolish. It's just very foolish.
The I'm trying to put this in the perfect way here. I get why they do it because as one fighter, when I asked a fighter once in Bellator and even UFC, why don't you fight your teammate? He basically said they've become family. I babysit his daughter. I babysit their son. They are uncles. You feel awful because you are letting a family member down in a sport which is, and even in pro wrestling, which is about being selfish for your own sake. I get Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Montez was the minister at Dawkins' wedding, literally. They're they are that whole group. Dawkins, Bianca, Montez, and Dawkins' wife. They are as thick as thieves. So they're gonna tell you, Kevin, this is family. We don't leave each other behind. We're not gonna screw. Where everybody in wrestling tries to screw each other over because hey, that's business. It's just the way it is. They're going to argue with you. Hey, some things are bigger than just money.
I don't know. The rising tide lifts all ships. Sorry, it just does. When one person in the group does well, everybody does well. Everybody does well. The only time it goes to shit is when egos get involved and people start doing dumb things. If Tez, you let Tez go single, right? You let Tez go single, and he starts to take off like a rocket. Eventually you're going to be in a situation where Dawkins has to be in his corner. So it's like he's gonna get the rope, he's gonna get the light, he's gonna be involved in the storyline. But not every story needs the two guys walking shoulder to shoulder. It's just not how it works. And I get it. I understand the mindset. But you know, unlike an Ultimate Fighter, unlike unlike a boxing situation, this isn't real. This is storytelling. This is theater. The the that'd be like, this is like to me it'd be like Stallone not taking a leading role because if he did, then he'd have to fight Frank in the movie, and he doesn't want to fight his brother in a movie. It's just I understand it, but it's a little misguided. It's a little misguided, especially when, as you move up and you get a little more stroke, you have the ability to be like, nah, dude, that doesn't work for me. I need you to help. What are we doing for my boy over here? And then, and then boom, now people, okay, yeah, what are we gonna do with him? We got to do. Where the champ says we got to do something. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So that's why I'm like, it's just short sighted. It's foolish. It's just foolish, and it's foolish for the sake of being foolish. And that's why I'm so annoyed with it.
Speaking of annoyed, Cena versus Rhodes part two, part due. It's for the WB Championship. I want this to end. It needs to end. This thing has become like, and granted, maybe I was just when I first thought of the final run of John Cena. I thought, oh, we're gonna get dream matches. We're gonna get John Cena versus Braun Breaker. We're gonna get John Cena versus Jacob Fatu, and we're gonna get, dare I say, John Cena elevating Oba Femi. I was salivating. Now it's like, oh yeah, we're just getting John Cena's greatest hits. The heel work, he's trying. He's just not heel anymore. And maybe it's because the fans don't want to boo him, but this just feels it needs to end. This is like old Yeller. We need to take it out back and put her down there. It's
Well, so I'll give them credit. They were really smart. at at the Saudi Arabia show. They use Lex Luthor to redeem Superman in terms of Punk and Cena because the although John Cena was cutting great promos, John Cena as a really truly deep dastardly mustache twirling heel, it wasn't working. It wasn't working. So doing everything you did with the case and the run-ins and Cena being mad that that Rollins and crew were trying to stop his match. Um, and then him and Punk going back to back and then fighting shoulder to shoulder, and then John trying to kick him in the nuts anyway. Um, it helped create the path towards Cena's redemption, but because he keeps cheating, it makes him as a heel that much more frustrating for people because people go, well, no, the real John Cena is in there. Why won't you just let him out? So it changed the tenor of the story. Um, and it's allowed Cena to play the character a little differently, which he's done with Cody, right? We had I think I rightfully predicted that the story here was going to be that Cody lost his match because he wasn't, he just didn't have enough balls to pull the trigger and do what needed to be done. And Cody was able to do it with Orton, so now that means he's able to do it with Cena. The and it looks like that's where they're going. But again, my only problem with this is that John Cena really should have had at least one more match with someone. Um, someone up and coming maybe, where before he got back to Cody. Whether it's Braun Breaker or whoever,
Well, how
the
tough is it when he's not on TV a lot? So, Orton and Cena, I mean, so Orton, Cena, Orton had to carry some weeks because John's not there. Cody, same thing. Like that was past week, week SmackDown before this, before SummerSlam. Cena's not there. Even Punk's had to do it, and that's asking a lot for a breaker or solo to, hey, we're gonna do a solo promo. You're gonna go out there and oh yeah, John's not there because his TV show he's filming, or he has a movie reshoots, or this. Like, how tough is that when it takes a great promo guy to be able to carry a feud when the other guy's not there? And there's not a lot of them right now in WWE who can do that full time.
well, that's why they weren't put in that position yet. They'll get there eventually, but now it's just not the time. And again, it's again I've said before, the WWE's biggest problem right now is that they have an embarrassment of riches. Pretty much everybody who can be on fire is on fire, and if they're not on fire, they're being artificially cooled because the second you let them cut loose, they're back to being on fire. So it just not everybody can be everywhere at the same time. And Breaker and Jacob, the storyline. Yes, it's obvious those two are the future. They are the future. We're treating them like they're the future. But that doesn't mean that they get to go. It doesn't mean they get to go. Doesn't mean they get to go pitch to Babe Ruth. You have to be certified in Babe Ruth's Babe Ruth's league to go to try to strike him out. And that's why this is Cody. The only thing that they did wrong was they left the world hanging when it came to The Rock. When all they had to do was just play his fucking music to make everybody think that he was coming out. If they had just played The Rock's music, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. Instead, they chose to go with the most convoluted slash disappointing ending that was available to them. So they chose to make the stupid decision as opposed to doing the making the common sense one. The It looks like they've learned from this a little bit, but again, I also say like, well, even if Cody wins, right? We know Cody's going to be disappearing soon. When do they start filming Street Fighter? Isn't that relatively soon?
Probably. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm. Is this where you put in a third party? Drew McIntyre. You keep teasing that they're going to reward him. They're going to reward him. They signed to a big deal. The Rock has given him his blessing. Is this where you introduce Drew, where Drew claymores, Cena? Cody makes the pin because it's a street fight, and you end it with Cody start looking at Drew, who has that big smirk, like, "All right, you owe me, and I will collect." Because it's the perfect way where, okay, if Cody needs to leave, he drops the title to Drew, and that's the final feud for John, trying to get redemption. Drew knows how to play the a-hole villain to perfection. Is this where you bring in a third party because you start looking, going, crap? Cena's
No,
is not going to be around for September. Cody, we have no idea when he's leaving for his movie. We need to bring in a third guy to sort of take the wheel and a big star. Hey, Drew McIntyre, we're finally rewarding you for all those Madcap Moss, Jinder Mahal, Happy Corbin matches, having to sing after you lost with friggin' Tyson Fury. We're going to reward you finally.
I mean, I don't think Drew's been ever really put in a bad position.
Tyson Fury singing along. Yeah, that was a bad position.
Right, but he chose to do that.
It was a choice. All of a sudden they send out Tyson Fury, who was doing a sing along. What could he do? Claymore Tyson Fury. I loved that, but I think the sponsors and Bob Arum would probably sue Drew to oblivion.
the
You'd pop for it, but once again, there'd be probably assault charges.
Yeah, you got to let this match be what it's going to be. If anybody's going to pop into the match, it's got to be The Rock, and I'm pretty sure The Rock's not there. Anything else just makes it overly complicated and takes away from whatever the story it is you're trying to tell. Even if Cody loses for some reason, you only need to involve the people that you need involved. Anything else is just you're knocking on WCW levels of botching the story. It's you gotta even when you go complicated, you still gotta keep it simple. The my only issue with this is I don't think this match should be happening yet. That's really my biggest thing is this match should not be happening yet. John Cena should not really be in any real danger of dropping this title. You know, until it's time that it becomes so undeniable that you just kind of got to do it. Like John to me, I think John Cena should have gotten within an angel's hair of being able to walk out of the company with the belt. The which I'm like, well, we should be doing this in Survivor Series, so that at the very least you can give him one more month to redeem himself. If he's going to lose it in September and you got to go October, November, December, then you're kind of like, well, what the f was the point of this? The so I just like it's a little weird to me that they're choosing to do this now. I get it, you need the big match, but I also still think that Cena and Punk should have been SummerSlam. At the end of the day, if Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania, then John Cena is Mr. SummerSlam. A lot of Cena's biggest matches have been SummerSlam. So to me, that's where they should have done it. But whatever. I'm not there. I don't get paid.
Well, speaking of big moments, TNA Slammiversary. This was the moment. AJ Styles finally coming back home. Right after Leon Slater wins the TNA X Division title from Moose in a pretty good match. AJ then puts over Leon Slater, saying, "You are now the champion. You are now the face. You are now the future." How big was that for everybody? For Leon Slater, who your TNA is trying to build up a guy that's not a WB guy. This is their baby, and for TNA, it was a nasty divorce between him and Dixie. And now the prodigal son is back, and it seems like they are all canoodling and they're all on better terms.
The um it's a massive moment. It can't be undersold, right? Who would have ever thought you were going to see AJ back in TNA, right? Like AJ is the first true star of TNA, and the fact that he put his stamp, the fact that he put the stamp on how old he was only 20, right?
Yeah.
AJ put his stamp on a 20-year-old, like that's virtually unheard of. And at a time where TNA is is in the middle of an ascension. The your former biggest star, one of the biggest stars on the planet, has shown up and said, "Hey, this guy is your future." Awesome, awesome. Doesn't get any better than that. And after he beats Moose, what? Awesome, awesome. It doesn't get any better than that. Does not get any better than that.
So what? So going forward with TNA, because they're trying to figure this out. And look, they're hindered because they don't have many heels outside of right now Mustafa Ali, and now Moose is being turned babyface. So it's basically Ali. Like when people complain about Trick Williams, and I get it, there's been this. Okay, why are all the NXT people always beating the TNA guys is for their titles? Why can't vice versa? How much right now, was this sort of needed that, okay, we need to start figuring out going forward, developing more heels, figuring this out and using this sort of to help, figure out a new, as you said, TNA is coming on, is going up, but there's still a lot of stuff they need to fix going forward.
Yeah. Um, it's still it's nothing but pluses for TNA right now. They're golden. People are super excited. They have the momentum on their side. Um, Making a couple of character changes is pretty easy. Eric Young is pretty loathsome right now. Even if you want to babyface Moose, they've still got some options. And yeah, on TNA, Trick should be heel. And again, it's like again, my firm belief is that this storyline will pay itself out at their other WrestleMania because depending on your perspective, TNA has one of two shows that can be WrestleMania. It's either Slammiversary or it's Bound for Glory. They decided to start telling a specific story at Slammiversary, and I'm sure that story will conclude at Bound for Glory. So everybody's got to kind of strap it and be patient. But I just realized that the story that's being told here is as TNA is in the middle of this phenomenal growth period, this boom for them. They're also in the middle of their darkest hour. Strangers came into their home and took their most prized possessions and are flaunting it out in the street. And our heroes seem to be at the moment ill-equipped to get it back. That doesn't mean your heroes are going to stop. Doesn't mean your heroes are going to succeed every time they try to get it. But eventually, your hero is going to be able to stand tall enough that they will overcome. Right. So this is a perseverance test. Once Mike Santana and whoever the knockout's going to be, who gets to take the belt off for what's the name? What's it? JC.
JC
Is
Jane, yep.
you know, it's going to be a major moment for TNA because those two people will be certified as the future. That'll be their respective man and woman. So everybody's got to kind of chill out, let the story play out for itself, and it's one of those guys just enjoy the ride. Especially now, allegedly TNA is in a position now where they can be where they're allegedly talking to two networks about a deal. Hey, that's great. That's great. TNA is where it is only because it hasn't been able to get back on a national stage. They didn't lose Spike because they weren't doing well. They lost Spike because Spike was in the middle of an identity crisis, and decided to make certain changes. I'm sure if you ask around, people internally probably regret because the Paramount Channel sucks. the outside of Yellowstone for a couple
Yep.
of years. The oh yay, Plumber Moxley.
Get to him in a bit, but let me jump in quickly here. When does though a TNA wrestler win an NXT title? Because that's the complaint I hear from TNA fans. Like, okay, look, this is becoming a bit AEW-ish. TNA guys will never always lose to NXT champions. NXT guys can beat TNA for their titles. Like, and I get it. WWE's the big brother. It's their cookout. They're going to give you, the steak from the grill, but not the prime cut. They're going to give you the beer, but not not the best beer. Like it's still their show. They are still the big brother. They're doing all this nice stuff, but They're still calling the shots, but when does that happen where it's like, okay, we finally need to have a TNA guy win an NXT title just so that we're not portraying NXT as the fourth development brand.
When you're 2 months out from Slammiversary, because you need to signal the TNA momentum shift. I mean, because people also forgetting the other part of the story here, right? Santino's authority is being impacted by Robert Stone, and so it's there's a the storyline is that the Big Brother is watching, and Big Brother is gobbling up all the toys. The that's the storyline that's being told here. So people got to let the story play out. TNA is the underdog for a reason, because in reality they are. So you have to put an underdog in an underdog position. If you don't, you're just wasting everyone's time. And people cannot sit here and act like TNA guys have not won matches on NXT, and NXT guys have not lost on TNA. We 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 had an entire feud for the Heritage Cup. We reunited the Rascals. It's TNA's gotten a lot of love. So this isn't anything like the AEW situation where little twat Tony cut these absurd heel promos and no one's allowed to respond. And Kenny Omega decides that he wants to be a belt collector, but because it's COVID, he's too bored and decides that the only way he's going to drop the AEW title is to drop it to a current AEW wrestler who just happened to have been a TNA champion, not even back to a TNA guy. The This is just these are different stories and different story circumstances, and we're clearly building up to something bigger. Again, just people's got to chill out. People got to chill out. They got an amazing moment in sending the Prince of Pantene and AJ Styles back to TNA. You got big incredible things happening. So everybody just got to chill out, man. Like I don't. Why is everybody got to be so damn angsty all the time?
You want to know why? Because this is why. That's right.
Well, this is a
Yeah,
this is
the gift
this is
that
a
keeps.
third of a
I
different
was
color.
trying to let it go because I know that you were still upset about losing the Sydney Sweeney deal. I kept telling you, you can't just walk up to blue-haired people and threaten to, as you said, break your foot off in their rear end because that's illegal still, technically. But yes, AEW, the gift that keeps on giving. Recently, Darby Allin threatened to take John Moxley over the balcony and throw him over. That's right, 170-pound Darby Allin's going to throw a 245-pound John Moxley. By the way, the cowboy is, as you call it, the effeminate cowboy is now your world champion after beating Moxley in, again, a street fight with Darby jumping off the balcony and taking out all of the Death Riders. Let's see what else. Oh, by the way, the Young Bucks are now slightly trying to go, I guess, on a slow baby phase turn yet, but I can just feel the anger going, I really need to slap somebody. And you're going, look at this
Yeah,
Moxley and going, yeah, I need to do this. Why the hell is Darby doing this? Why are they allowing a guy who, as you said, your daughter could probably kick Darby's ass to go toe to toe with a guy probably 80 pounds heavier than him?
well, that's the thing, right? So listen, the stupidity. You just had the Young Bucks lose this important match. Now you have them in a tag team tournament. They're getting wins. The Young Bucks should have lost that match and immediately gone off of TV, at least for 3 weeks. And then you throw them back into a tag team tournament. But then it's also another tournament in AEW. How many effing tournaments can a person do in a year? It's like, Lord have mercy, dude. Like, if you don't know what to do, then ask for help in terms of booking a storyline. But what this guy loves tournaments. It's brutal. It's brutal. The stuff with Darby. It's just Tony has this weird fetish for the small guy dominating the big guy. And yes, in a real world fight, if you had two judo guys going at it, yes, There's a yes, the little guy can win. We know that, but this isn't real life. This is fictional television. So and AEW fails to do the due diligence necessary to make it so that I can suspend disbelief. Moxley is allegedly a judo guy. He outweighs Darby by like freaking what, 50, 60 pounds?
Maybe more. I'm guessing he's about a
I
good
say
down to
it may be
40.
more, right? And
Yeah.
maybe more. Maybe more. He's more than a foot taller than him. This is like a father and a son roughhousing. So there was no way to me that John Moxley was in anything that vaguely resembles Danger from Darby Allin. But so this is there's suspension of disbelief, and then there's insulting your audience. AEW will never get more than the hardcore weirdos who live and die by its existence, because all they do is insult their audience. They can't, they are so incapable of wanting to abide by anything that remotely makes sense, that no matter what they do, it's always just a choice of insulting your audience. And here, look here, what was going to be the outcome here? Darby was going to commit murder on live television, right? He was going to choke him out and throw him over the rail.
Hey,
All right, so
Moxley would try to no sell it. They do that a lot over there in AEW. They no sell stuff. So, hey, there is probably somebody going, hey, we could probably no sell this. Kevin, it's possible Moxley could no sell
possible.
this.
It's possible. It's possible that one day Moxley will not throw a punch that looks like shit. It's possible. Not likely, but it's possible. The but again, what was going to be the outcome here? Because there's 1,000 ways to have done this brawl. But again, Darby should not be a guy that you're brawling with, unless it's a situation that's so dire that he has no choice. I'll give them credit, as much as I hate to do it, because I just think Brody King is such a colossal disappointment. The match that Darby had with Brody King not too long ago was actually pretty good. They told a big guy versus little guy story. That was the first time in 6 years that I think that they've managed to tell a good little guy versus big guy story. This is goofy. I just got struggle to see what the actual point was. Where were you actually trying to go with this? Why was an active murder almost just perpetrated? Why was anybody arrested? These are the things that you have to be careful with whenever you want to do an over the top wrestling storyline. The Because they don't have the imagination or the funds to go so over the top that it becomes cartoonish, right? Like I'm talking, Triple H being hoisted into the air, 50, 60 feet into the air, and then Austin turns off the magnet so the car falls roof first. And Triple H screams all the way down. That's so damn cartoonish. We know that he should have been dead, but it's so over the top you can't help but roll with it. You can't help but roll with it. The NWO forcing the Steiner brothers' car off the road. That shit looked real enough that I remember people thought it really happened. But because of the way, but they and because it is something that could happen, they sold it appropriately. Or beating up Dusty at the gas station. Like you've got, if you're gonna do it, it's gotta look real good. It's gotta look real good. It's gotta look real convincing. Nothing about this was remotely convincing. It just wasn't. It looked like roughhousing. It looked like roughhousing, and it looked like there was more danger of someone slipping and falling down the fire escape than there was of John Moxley being thrown off to the side.
612,000 people watched Dynamite. It's getting, and this is getting scary here because, as you said, they've split now WBD, where HBO Max, HGTV, the cable properties, the movies and all that, they're in one. And then all the TV networks are in a different. And as you said, this is getting down to the point where if you're Tony Khan, you just got to start worrying like, they might cancel me after this year. They might just pull the contract and go, screw this, this isn't working. We're not paying 180 million per year for a show that dangles around 600 to 500,000 viewers.
Yeah. Well, right now they probably have another year just because of the big transition, and there's nothing to replace it with.
Big
And
Bang Theory, you can probably do 4 episodes of Big Bang Theory to
yeah,
basically
but
replace all of this. They have so much content. WBD.
you're missing the point though. It's about network sync. It's about sync. The because WB can put out a brand new mega expensive movie, and they could advertise the shit out of it on Dynamite, and know they have a guaranteed audience. And we just saw why Dynamite still on TV a couple weeks ago with Superman, with all the Superman promo. It's about network sync. They don't care about running episodes of Big Bang Theory. The show is gonna the show still draws well for because it's just where it is. It's in the it's in the scene and the view slot of a TV is just on, so people are gonna watch it because it's familiar. The sound might not even be on, but when it comes time for marketing, network sync is the only thing that matters. Where AEW needs to be concerned is again once you start getting below 500,000, your sample pool starts to become too small. The so and Dave trying to play funny with the network with the show rankings. Well, they were number one for the night. No, Fox News was number one for the night. Well, non-news, they blah 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 blah. Only second behind the NBA. Okay, no one cares about that. I need to know that as a network executive, I need to know the show that I'm paying money for on its slot can guarantee me a certain amount of people. Where cable TV is right now, not a lot of people don't talk about it, but cable TV is on the balls of its ass. So is streaming, if we're gonna be frank, streaming is not doing anything gangbusters, but it has the public perception of momentum. But network TV, cable TV, they're in the balls of their ass. A regular show, like something like let's say like what the hell is that show? The Pit. If The Pit was on TNT and not on HBO Max, they would be over the moon if The Pit was doing 600,000 people. That's just kind of where we are right now with how people watch TV. Now, are there other shows on other networks that run contrary to that? I mentioned that Tyler Perry show on freaking BET, which isn't even a prestige channel, has managed to increase its viewership year over year, and it's a few years in, right? They went from being like I think in the fives to being in the seven high eights. So it tells you that there is room for growth on cable TV if you can find an audience. AEW never hit a maturity curve. It went up and then immediately started going down. And that is a problem within AEW itself. So now they're floating around 600, but now when you start diving into what the demos are, because the demos are smaller sampling sizes, and fine, they've tried to get more people because they expanded the demo bracket because it was getting real narrow. But once you hit 500, the demo bracket is going to naturally contract, and that means you're going to have fewer people there. And once you have fewer people there, that means your network sync is worthless because there's no one to sync to. And that's where AEW is in big trouble. They need to stop the bleeding. This bullshit is not going to stop the bleeding. This has a grown ass man. This is we're talking a 40 something, watching TV with his kid is going to see this and go, "What is this shit?" Just like when they had that reality show that came on. I will never forget it. My father had it on. It comes on. He sees Adam Cole, and he starts laughing because he thought that it was a joke. He thought it was a mockumentary because he was like, "There's no way this skinny little boy is a professional wrestler. Why are they lying to me?" Like it had the opposite effect. So with wrestling, yes, you're fine. Again, WWE has perfected the formula, right? WWE saw where the birthing trends right away. They shifted, and now their audience is just as male as it is female. AEW, because of their choices, they still need men. They still need men. So if you can't grab dad, dad's not bringing the kids. The kids aren't really all that interested. So now you need dad more than ever, because usually dad is the one who passes your hobbies down to you. Dad is the one who gets you into football, baseball, basketball. Dad is the one who watches wrestling, so you get to watch wrestling. Dad is usually the one who gives you your taste in TV shows and movies. So without dad, you're not securing the generational capture you need to actually have an audience that can mature with this dumb shit. Because dad sees this. Oh shit, was that guy used to be on WWE TV? He's all washed up now. Oh my god, who's this skinny kid? Who's this tiny lesbian in a fur coat? Oh, that's a guy. Wow, he's small. That's the conversation that's happening with the average blue collar dad sitting in his house flipping through the channels, coming across TBS on a Wednesday and then what, TNT on a Saturday. They're laughing at the show. They're laughing at the show, and we know that's the case because you've seen countless memes of people talking about how the show gives you the icks. We can see the fact that they can't maintain a rating anymore. That they continually lose, um, conservatively 15 to 20% of their audience year over year as soon as the NBA playoffs are done.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We always love having on because he pulls no punches, takes no dives. And if you don't like what he has to say, well, that's your problem, not his. I give you once again a man with 27-inch pythons. I give you
Yes,
Kevin
sir.
Apollo. So, Kevin, before we let you go, where can fans check you out at? And, where does your multiple, YouTube channels, the Twitter, Instagram, and what's going on with American Coliseum Wrestling? When are we going to get the next event?
So the next event I believe is going to be August 16th at the Haverstraw Rec Center. Hopefully Cheap Wrestle will put some stuff up on the Instagram soon. We had a little issue with the insurance, but we got it straightened out. So we're back in business, and we're going to be going back to Middletown for a Halloween theme event. So that'll be fun. But I'll talk more about that soon. On that tonight, you can see me with Lauren Connor on the WDW Pro Show for the Lauren and Apollo show, where we kind of talk about a lot of things, pop culture, entertainment wise. We'll do some deep dives and just kind of have some fun tonight. We're gonna be playing a game that I intend to do on my YouTube channel called Recast This, where we take a classic movie and we swap out the main cast for stars of that era. So tonight we're going to be doing Caddyshack. So audience participation is appreciated. So if you're in the chat, send us your suggestions and we'll talk about it. Give us your thoughts. It's an open forum. The Other than that, the House of Apollo YouTube channel will drop soon. I just was talking to Chris, our gracious host here, about one of the things I want to do on it, because I used to be a big sports fan, but I've also kind of lapsed. A lot of my jobs have had me working on the weekends, and then I became a parent, so I only pay attention to what the kids do. So I'm not as big a sports fan as I used to be. So I want to put a panel together and have people explain to me why I need to care about what's happening in the world of sports. And then if I can re-find a brand new team, maybe I'll re-adopt the team. I used to love the Knicks, but I haven't been able to forgive Patrick Ewing for the finger roll of doom. And then all of a sudden, everybody decided they like the Steelers, so now I don't want to like the Steelers anymore. I don't know. I want to be interested to see where this goes. But that's one of the many things popping up. Other than that, you can follow me on Instagram on the House of underscore Apollo, or on Twitter at Wardog Apollo. And then ACW, of course, is ACW underscore Coliseum. But we'll be going through a brand change soon because of the other ACW who stole all my shit. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Kevin Apollo, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure. Have you on the show. We come back. A lot more going on here, only on its Last Call. Last Call of the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube channel.